We're all works in progress. Join me, Jenn Hart, as I wander creator spaces across the U.S. to meet artists, musicians, makers, and creatives of all kinds, to hear their stories and to find out what inspires them. We'll also play a game of 10 questions. Keep track if you like, and we'll count them up at the end. The nice thing is that the only one that can really lose this game by not getting to 10 is me. And we all get to win by meeting some seriously talented people. I can only see good things coming. Whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same. Miss Emily Bronte could coin a phrase. Coincidentally, so can our guests. G+Rizz are one of the cutest couples I have ever come into contact with. And oh yeah, they also run a successful art business, creating together and selling their work together, pushing each other's buttons while avoiding the one that says abort the mission. During this episode, G said, I would be doing this even if I wasn't getting paid. I'll always be drawing, so now let's just try and figure out a way to monetize what we've already been doing. This really struck me in such a positive way because so many creatives struggle with this, the idea of turning their passion into profit. I hear people say it all the time. I love it so much, I just don't want to ruin it by trying to make it into my job. That doesn't sound like love, though. Love doesn't make you hide the best part of yourself, right? It's fear. And no wonder. No judgment either. It's hard to start a new thing, let alone put something so personal out there to be judged. I'm a lady with many passions. I'm a designer, a business owner, a writer, a painter, illustrator, a weekend crafter. You name it, if it can be made, I will make it. And I'm always happiest when I'm doing that, when I'm making. I love to create. That's it. Some people say creation is in itself an act of love. Call me a romantic, but I have to agree. Because there is something so beautiful to the thought that every time we lay that little naysaying monster that lives in our head to rest and share a piece of ourselves, we prove once and for all that love conquers all. I am unbelievably stoked to be chatting with a visual arts duo, our first tag team on the show, by the way. They create whimsical, funny, sassy, and artful graphic prints, cards, merch, and more. I fell in love with this brand almost immediately coming to Philly in June. I think I met Rizz the first week I was in Philly at First Friday. So it's conceptual, it's clever, it's, you might say, out of this world, as it is art for humans, as they would say. So welcome to the show, G+Rizz. I'm so excited that you're here, really. This is really cool to get to sit in your living room surrounded by your art and all your things, and I'm excited to hear more about your process and just how this all came together for you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we need like the, oh, that should be like one of the things I get for the show. I'll have like a sound machine.
Yes. So good.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
It's cool how it's all coming full circle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Happy to be here.
This was super cool, by the way. I know, like, everyone will see it once they see the content, but the room that we're in is beautiful. There's, like, these gorgeous windows, and, like, I'm sure, does that give you inspiration, just getting that view in the city? I mean...
Oh, no, 100%. You know, part of the reason coming to Old City was just because of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then also, it's such a Philadelphia is a walkable city
Yeah, I love that.
In general, but Old City, there's just like a little special charm about it.
It
And
is.
right down from the Liberty Bell to Betsy Ross house. You can't beat that.
All those beautiful brick buildings, and just
100%.
it feels like It feels kind of old, but like in a good way.
Yeah, old but modern.
Yeah.
It definitely gives inspiration for some of the things that we create. You know, I think with the brand, I think what's really sets us apart is that we say art for humans, but it's also created by humans. It's not AI that's doing it.
Yeah.
So it's based off of our own experiences and the people that we interact with and the moments that we share, and that's what we put into our art.
Yeah.
You can really feel that in the art too. Like I bought a card from you guys at that fair, and one of my best friends was having a baby like a few months like after that, and it was that card. It was like, I can't wait to smell your baby, and it's like it's just the right amount of like it's a little offbeat, but like I love it, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna totally laugh at this. So it's just it hits like a chord, you know. There is something special about it, like about the mix of how you guys have been able to collaborate and create this kind of vibe that's very much your own.
It's always like surprising how much of a shared experience that people have where we might think it's like unique to ourselves, but smell your baby is a perfect example of, like, I have 2 nephews, so when they were really small, that's all you kind of did.
Yeah, you're like, oh, they smell so good and they're so cute.
And I think also, like, with Smell Your Baby, especially with that card, the copy is so, like, weird. But the image is so cutesy.
Sweet.
Yeah. That it kind of works.
It balances.
Like, this is odd, but it's, like, what I need. And, like, I had a bunch of friends who were out of college having kids. And so I was, like, one of the only ones that didn't have kids. And so that kind of tracks, too, where people are like, yeah, I am going to smell your baby. I don't have one yet.
Yeah.
But I'm
going to just know, I will be smelling your baby.
I'm here to live through you in this experience.
I'm here to smell your baby.
Right. Yeah. Not take it at all.
Yeah.
I'm not
I will be giving the baby back.
Yes.
Just wait till it poops and you will have it back.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Not smelling something anymore.
I'm here for the cute snuggle and the smell, and then I'll give the baby back.
Oh, he's crying.
Yeah. There you go.
Wow.
Get to be the funny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like a funny offbeat card that I think also for us, we try to make cards that you wouldn't typically see.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like, okay, so you need a card, you're going to run a CVS, you're going to look, and then it may not be the right one, and God forbid, I'm caught without a good card.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, now, right?
Yeah.
Do you get that where, like, you ever, like, oh my gosh, we have to go get one right now? Like, what's happening?
Sometimes we're, like, looking through our
Print
trunks,
it off.
like,
Print it off.
We're like, can we do it now? What do you have? Write something.
Oh
Talk
my
to me right
gosh.
now.
Yeah.
Have a lot of your cards come out of necessity like that, where you're like, oh, we need a birthday card for my nephew or whatever.
Yeah.
What a segue there, because that's kind of like how we got started.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Out of necessity.
Literally out of necessity. We were on our way to a wedding, and I did not have a card, and I was like, I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to have to draw on this piece of paper and just Venmo them some money, and we're going to call it a
Make
day.
it work.
And he was like, oh, I could like do something like quick. And it was before I actually understood like how much of an artist he was. We had been dating for a couple months, maybe. I think it was our first summer of like weddings. And so essentially he drew this beautiful sunflower. We put money in there, and I was like, wait a second. You can like really draw.
You're like,
this is not right. This is
Yeah.
a stick figure. Like, wait a second.
Where have you been hiding
right.
this, first of all?
What? I got more hand-drawn cards.
Yeah.
Like, what if we do like a few and we just see how it goes? Like, my grandma was a part of the post office for 30 years. She worked there. So I grew up getting cards and getting mail from her. So that was always my thing anyway. I used to collect stamps, like back in the day, if we had any stamp collectors out there. So I was like, no, we should do this. So we started with like 5 cards. And we did a pop-up at OCF. Maybe that was 2 years ago, I guess, in June. And then we like sold out of some cards. And it was like, oh shit.
And you were like, oh.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like the very first job that I've ever had was as an artist. So, like, I was probably like 14 years old, and I got hired to like paint murals around.
Oh my gosh, how cool for you! Like,
yeah, so, you know, I've always had a passion for it. If there's any, I do so many different things. So, if there's anything that I could be known for, it would definitely be as a artist. So when, and I always like. Artists, you always struggle with like what's going to inspire us. How are we going to get that? And I always kept saying, even when we were dating, it's like, oh, I want to paint more, I want to draw more. And Lord, I have been doing that.
You're like, you asked for it, so.
But going back to the story, when we had those first 5 cards, I was like, all right, I drew them. I didn't really think what was going to come of it. And then when she comes back and says that I think we made a couple of $100, I was like, wait, what?
You're like,
just from somebody seeing my drawing, and then that
You're
was
like,
the-
from my napkin drawing that I just did
That's
and when I was
exactly-
like half asleep? Okay. I was like,
Exactly
wait till I really
what-
try to do this.
Exactly.
Like,
That's exactly what happened. So for me,
you're like, ding, 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 ding.
for me, that gave me like the boost that I think I needed to really believe, like, all right, this could really be something.
Yeah.
You know, and then from those 5 cards, I think we probably easily in 2 years have over 100 different cards.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's
It's
so
kinda wild
cool.
when
Yeah.
you think about it.
And then now,
And you said only in 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years.
It's a lot of drawing.
We've done a
Wow.
lot. Yeah, we've done a lot in 2 years. We're in 10 stores now.
Oh my
The
gosh.
Philadelphia Art Museum has our stuff in there. We just went into Laser Philly, which is right down the street.
That's
North
so
Limits.
incredible. Congrats.
Yeah, thank
Oh
you.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're missing a lot of them. You said
Vera
Vera Doyle. Nice Things and Passyong. They're such a cool store.
Okay.
Yep, Vic's Emporium.
Yeah.
Art Star, right down there by the Liberty Bell.
Okay.
We're missing some.
So
Minor
we would-
Details and Maniac.
So we would
Oh my
never
gosh.
go from selling cards at a table at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Now stores are purchasing it. And
Yeah.
you know, really expecting it to get bigger. From there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I only see good things coming. That's what I like to say. It's like that's, I believe it. I can see it.
Yeah.
You guys are killing
Yeah.
it.
Thanks.
So that's so cool. And what like a fun like
Yeah.
your origin story. Like you should do like a little comic book or something and do an origin story for that. It's
The
so
funny
cute.
thing is, that's kind of like in the works. Our tagline is "Art Pure Humans."
Yeah.
So we started introducing a little alien,
Mm-hmm.
and
So
the
cute.
first design that I drew was an alien crying because art.
Yeah.
Pure Humans.
Yeah. He's like, I want up
Yeah.
here.
Right.
So we're gonna start introducing him into our Instagram.
That's
and,
cute.
You'll start seeing him as doing little pop-ups and things like that.
Yeah.
And when you go to our website, G+Rizz.com,
Uh-huh.
you'll see him all over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all over
so
the-
cute. I was on
Yeah.
there before the show, like just prepping a little,
Yeah.
stalking your site a little
Yeah.
to see what was on there.
Yeah.
I also love the cat at the bottom, and I was like, "Who is
Yeah.
this cat?" I'm like, is there a cat? Can I meet the
No.
cat? I'm like,
We used to have a cat.
oh,
Actually.
I'm sorry.
I had a gray cat called Lint. I should probably start bringing
You
Lint
should
back.
bring Link back.
Back
Oh,
into the
yeah.
the spirit of G+Rizz with some cards, but yeah, my cat was crazy, and I feel like in Philadelphia there's cat people everywhere.
Oh yeah,
So-
for sure.
So we have a couple of different cat cards, but I also love dogs. And
Yeah,
all the
animals
dog
in
owners,
general.
they're like, we need some dogs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we have
yeah.
a lot of cat stuff right now. We have a cat birthday
Yeah,
card.
they're like,
it's cat
we
stuff.
need some dog
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
We're like, sorry.
You're like, we're on a
We're
cat.
trying,
We're in
yeah.
the cat mode right now,
Yeah.
right? We'll get there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah, I love that little like a little gif that you have at the bottom where he's like
Yeah.
looking at the fish.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah.
cute. Oh my gosh.
I love the little pieces of like randomness that's in there, and it's always for like, if you don't get it, it wasn't meant for
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it is. So with those little kind of little Easter eggs and things like that, it's the special person gets it.
It's a
So-
charm. It's part of the charm. Like there's a quirkiness that
Yeah, exactly.
that's like you said, a little bit. It's like a little weird if it was like
Yeah.
by itself, but like when you look at it as like a whole, it's just like this is so cool. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it so much.
You are definitely our audience.
Yeah, I am the person.
Yeah.
Yeah, hello.
It's you.
There you go.
It's me.
It's actually
Hello.
Yeah, I like the song.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, surprise. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. And there's a lot of joy in your work too, which is something I appreciate. You know, like you can feel like it seems, at least from an outside perspective, that you guys enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
Do you find it challenging? I mean, is there parts of this that have been surprisingly like very hard, or?
Yeah,
Yes.
there's definitely moments. Sometimes the hard part is deciding what to put out.
Yeah.
And then understanding when we're doing like events and we're trying to gauge like how much this is like the business aspect
Yeah.
of the piece, and we could just draw and not have to worry about financially,
Right.
and, things like
It's
that.
the
It's
dream.
easy.
Right.
Someday
But-
hire a manager
Yeah.
and they just
Yeah.
do that part.
Just fund us.
Yeah,
Just
just
fund us
fund
all.
us.
Right, but Rizz is really good at being able to get us in so many events. Like we probably did about 80
You guys
something
are,
plus
that was
fashion.
one of the things I wrote down on my list of things to talk about with you, because I'm always like, I see you guys like everywhere online, and I'm like, this is like the greatest. Like, you guys are the most hardworking artists, I think, in Philly. Like, I'm just like, they are everywhere. Like, every weekend, they're like, at an event, going here, talking about it. Like, look, and I'm like, yeah, do it.
We're trying.
So, it's so cool.
It is wild, honestly. I think also it's like, you know, we work 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Like, well, I said, well, because I'm the one that doesn't fully work a 9 to 5. I run my own social media agency.
Yeah.
So I'm client based, but I mean, it just depends month to month. It's like you can have a 20-hour week, you can have a 70-hour week.
Right.
He's working 9 to 5 plus another part-time plus G+Rizz.
Oh my gosh.
Plus probably another part-time on the side with some other like clients that he's picked up. So, you know, we're in the creative space, and when you're in creative, you know, it's
you're
a
just
hustle.
you're making, you're making and you're hustling, and you know, like when you know when it feels good, which this feels like a thing, right? Like it feels like a thing. You just have to go for it. I feel like, and that's what you're doing. It sounds like. So
I think that's the biggest thing. If not now, when?
Yeah.
You know? And I think the biggest thing is whatever the idea is that you're trying to pursue or thinking about, just gotta go ahead and just do it.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta try. I never wanted to live a life where you get these what ifs, you know.
Yeah,
so,
like, do you want to look back and, you know, 20 years and be like, man, I wish we would have tried that then, you know?
No. I'd be too old to do it
then.
then.
and time goes by so fast.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
Especially when you're working and creating, and like that time kind of stacks up, right? Because you are so active.
Yeah, very easily.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is trying to, you know, just manage it all. So you get your 9 to 5, and then you got the 6 to 11, and then everything else in between.
Yeah.
It's never 6 to 11 though. It's really like 6 to 1 a.m.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like,
I can totally relate to that. I can totally relate to that.
Yeah, if we're like, oh, you're 9 to 5, you're 6 to 11. You mean my 9 to 3:30 plus an hour for this last meeting, and then
and then that rush job that squeaked in like right after, like I was just starting to work on the podcast or draw my illustration, and then now I got to jump back to my client
not
work.
taking my lunch.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this.
Oh yeah, no, the lunch is. You eat that at your desk. You eat that at your desk.
Yeah. If you eat it all.
I barely eat. I think that's like.
Oh my gosh.
I think that's the.
We're working on these habits.
I think that's like the entrepreneur life. You know, I think there's always going to be that crossover where people say it's like, well, if you're not doing it 100% full time, you're not doing it enough. And I always felt like there can be a balance. And if you look at it, and if you look at your job as the funder, the VC that's funding your dreams, then it puts a little bit in different perspective.
I also you know, like you guys, I'm into a lot of different. I'm an artist too. I do a lot of different things. And a while back, I was writing and illustrating my own picture books and promoting those, and it was super fun. And my dog was like my main, you know, character, and he would come with me to events, and it was really fun, you know. But when I started getting in this mode where I like was separating that from, like, there was like that work, and then there was like my design work. Yeah. And for some reason my brain wanted to compartmentalize those two things. And I had a friend in a writing group that I was in at the time tell me that we were talking, and we was like a critique type of thing. And she was like, I was kind of like complaining a little bit. And she was like, Jen, like, they're the same thing. Like, you are, like, don't you also make art and copy for your day job? And I was like, epiphany, you know, like, because she was totally right. It was just like I had to shift the way I was thinking about it. And ever since then, it was honestly like, she probably doesn't, I need to like, okay, Sonia, if you're listening. Shout out Sonia. Right. She's amazing. She also has a podcast, Happiness
cool.
Project. It's super cool. So shout out Sonia. She probably doesn't even realize like how much that like sank in for me, but like it did, you know. And I think just what you said, like shifting your perspective and being like, this is all part of the same universe of creation, and like this right now is helping to fund this other thing, and like who knows where all of that is going to lead to, right? Because your social media during the day probably really helps with knowing how to do that so that you can promote the work that you're doing together. So your work, you know, outside of G+Rizz is also probably providing endless inspiration for those projects, right?
100%. I think when people have a 9 to 5 and then they look at what they're trying to do from an entrepreneur's perspective, I am pretty sure there's moments and there's aspects of what your 9 to 5 job is where you can transfer that to your own business.
Transferable skills.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's super cool. And I feel like the more artists that we talk to, I feel like nobody's just doing one thing. Like will we ever? Artists' brains don't work like that, right?
You get too bored.
You get too bored.
What else can I do with this?
And then you realize you're really not wired the same as everybody else. And I felt like, what can I do on what am I already doing on a day-to-day basis? So even though someone outside looking in, like, oh, you're doing so much.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like, I would be doing this even if I wasn't getting paid. I'll always be drawing. I'll always be talking. I'll always be doing this. Now let's just try to figure out a way to monetize what we're already actually doing. And then, boom, G+Rizz.
Yeah. It is
just like that.
Just like that. It just happened. Yeah. So I'm interested in hearing more about your collaboration because it's unique, right? Like you guys are a couple, right? Mm-hmm. So you're, I'm sure, working together in a business. Like, does that ever cause friction, or like, how do you deal with those kinds of? Because business can be hard, you know, and like.
You know, there's certain aspects.
Diplomatic one. You already started.
There's certain aspects about like. You know, when you're 50-50 partners, now I always make a joke. I was like, I'm gonna take a percent. I was like, I need to get 51%.
There's never will it happen.
Yeah, not in a million years.
51%. That's for sure.
I was like, I'm taking a point away from you. But I think we've naturally kind of like fell into certain kind of lanes. Now with Rizz writing, I want her to write so much more. She has so many different poems. She has like a book of poems.
Amazing.
And when people come up to, like, there's been people that's come up to our table and when we're vending, read one of her poems and literally cried. And I was like, the kind of impact that, like, well, no one's cried looking at my art.
You're like, not yet.
Sure. Yeah. So
give it time.
So the kind of impact that her writing has, you know, I always try to push her to be able to put even more, you know, out there, and then vice versa. You know, with some of the drawings, like there's even though we probably have like over 100 different designs, there's probably about like a good 70 that I just like discarded. I didn't like.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask that earlier, like, because you said that you thought you had about 200. Is that?
Yeah, like right now, if we were to just print every single card that we've ever put out there in the market, it'll definitely be close to 200.
But you think like, but you have like a stockpile, right? Because you're not putting every single thing out. Like sometimes you draw something probably, and you're like, that's not working.
Exactly. We call it our sunset pile.
Yeah.
We don't want it to be like dead. We're like sunset. The sun is going down on this
for now. It could rise, That does happen. Right. Have you had that happen where like you go through your kind of like your sunrise pile?
It's like Groundhog Day. There's like certain designs where I'm like, get rid of it. I don't want to see it no more. I never liked the design to begin with. Yeah. And then it sells. I'm like, I guess we got to reorder.
Yeah. There are like things that are bestsellers. I mean, we did the sunflower card and we thought we were going to sunset that.
Yeah.
Our Go Be Great card. And then someone came up and was like, I need 10 of these. And we were like, oh no. Like, oh yes. Like, oh no. Yeah. And then it was just like something that happened. The next couple of events, people just were asking for it, ordering it online.
Oh my gosh.
Stores were asking for it, and we were like, we can't get rid of this, even though we thought like you guys were sick of it. Happens all the time. And then I think for him too, like, I think what I remember the most is we did something for Women's History Month last year where I had a quote that I really wanted to use: well-behaved women really make history, which is not my quote, but it's a quote that is so powerful and so cool. So we were like, okay, we're going to use this, but we're going to do an artistic spin on it. And I brought it to him and I was like, I really want to use this quote. And he was like, are you sure? And I was like, yes, can you just like draw something for it? And he drew it and I was like, I don't like it. And he's like, but I like it. And so we had like 3 days where we literally like, it was so many heated conversations. I distinctly remember I was in Connecticut. I was like away visiting a friend and we're on the phone going back and forth. And she was like, are you guys okay? And I was like, we just both feel how we feel about this. And I was like, okay, we'll come back to it. And then the next day we talked and we figured out like a compromise. And I was like, because I don't know if you didn't like the color or I didn't like the color or what it was.
One of
that happens quite often with us, and we have to kind of be like, okay, let's take a step back. Let's think about what we love about this, and then we'll come together and we'll compromise on it. Or sometimes I'll be like, you know what, if you think this is it, then you go like run with it. And a lot of times he's right.
Yeah, like I think, especially when it comes to like ideation and just figuring out what do you actually put out there, what is that process to create something. I think you always just have to keep asking why. Yeah. For every single reason. I was like, me not being a woman, I was like, why is woman history important? Why is that? And then you say all the reasons why. Well, why should we celebrate it? You say all, and then from there, you start being able to pull out different facts and things that are really, really important, and then you hone in on that. And then for me, my job is to figure out how can I express that in a visual form. Yeah. Sometimes we'll just put it as text, but for the Well-Behaved Woman one, we ended up doing two different designs. One, we had the text, and I wanted it to look almost like a poster that you would see,
like a typographic kind of.
That you would see like on like a wall outside. Because that just kind of rawness kind of like
like the quote was so powerful. Yeah, like it doesn't need a lot of other.
We were like, we're just gonna support this particular thing. We want to shed some light to that.
And then we figured out and settled on like Well-Behaved Really Make History. A lighter, someone setting something on fire, and then that ended up becoming the image for it. And so we have a lighter with the Well-Behaved Woman as far as text, and then we had a second design where it was a couple of different bras being set on fire with the same lighter. And that was for Women's History Month to just kind of really just show like the power of it.
And that bra burning one, actually, it was like a spin-off. Like when we did the first one, he kind of got inspired, and we started talking more about stuff like that. And I was like, I want something really like edgy and rebellious, and we were like, oh, bra burning, and that was something we like ideated together, and that was so easy. So it's kind of like for every like really rough patch we go through, where we're like having to like go back and forth with ideas, we always kind of have one where it just feels like it just flows. And that's kind of like what partnership is. Right. Like some days are like when it's great, it's really great. It's like you're flying, you're grooving, you're doing our thing. And some days you're like, I'm not gonna make it. Give me my 51% and get out of here. You know what I mean? So it's like, but you work through it.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that we found as far as successful is, like it's almost like the screw it moment. It's like, I see it. Don't overthink it. Just put it out there. I think when we found ourselves overthinking and trying to say, well, what does this person like? When we create for ourselves, and if we really love it, and if we really like it, and we put it out there, that's what we found in it working the best. Staying true to yourself.
Well, it feels authentic to you. So if you're feeling it, then the audience is also going to feel it because they're your people, right?
Definitely. So and when we're not true to ourselves, we find that stuff doesn't feel as well. Yeah. So it's just figuring out
like when you're trying to chase a trend or like do that kind of thing.
Those things don't go well for us, and so it's kind of like okay, but if we like have a trend that we put our own spin on, that tends to do really good.
Yeah.
Like I have a phrase that actually is inside my passport. Why chase waves when you can be the wind?
I love that.
And that's essentially the essence of, you be the trend, you create it.
Yeah.
Be the wind, not the waves that everybody's trying to ride.
I love that so much. I need that on something. Can you put that on something?
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm on you. Yeah. All right. Woo.
There we go.
We're drawing it tonight.
Yeah. Just let me know when it's for sale, and I'll be your first customer. Like order.
And then you have that's like my own personal quote that I wrote. But there's it's arts longa. What's that phrase that?
That's another one. That's not mine either.
It's not yours. It's a phrase.
Ars longa viva brevis.
Yeah.
Like art is essentially like life is short. Life is but a breath, but art lasts forever. It's in Latin. I'm obsessed with it. Yeah. It's like kind of
so
been like a quote to live by for a long time.
That's so good.
It's true. I mean, when you think about it, you're like, okay, whatever you create in this life, whether it's a poster or a painting or even a podcast, right? Uh-oh. Like this will outlive you.
You're like, solidified in word now.
Music. When you think of that, it's like look at people like Prince and Michael Jackson, where it's like they're gone, but their music has touched so many people and continues to touch people. Like art lives. Once you breathe life into it, it's alive.
And it's just not going anywhere.
Nope.
Yeah, it's just going to go and it's going to be there.
Yep, it just exists.
You cannot stop it.
Yeah,
it is here.
which is why we are like art for humans. You should create art for people to enjoy because there are always going to be people after you that can learn from that or feel from that. Yeah. I think that's like part of the things like my writing and like all of the poems that I write. Like one of our top sellers is Please Be Kind, and it's all about just like being kind to yourself and loving yourself. Even in your hard seasons, and that's what people resonate with. People bought it for themselves, they bought it for other people, and it's like, when I'm gone, you know, and, you know, it's been 150 years, I'm no longer, dear God, please don't let me still be on this earth, right? I'll be like, flying cars, and
you're like, I can't.
Yeah, people also look at that, and they'll like remember that moment, and that will inspire them.
What a great thought to be known by too, like that. If that was your one thing that you left in the world, you know,
could be worse.
It could be so much worse.
Yeah.
So with your poems, are you only putting those in the cards, or like where do you publish, or like tell me more about that?
Yes, tell us more about that.
He's so annoying. He's really been on a kick with
okay.
Somebody came up to us the other day, and an older lady came up and was talking about her poems. Like, wow, this is really great. You need to write more. I was like, tell her some more.
And literally, he was like, yes, you're my best friend. I can't believe you came at the perfect time. I was like, oh my goodness.
You're like, can you stop?
And honestly, my background's in public relations, so I've always been writing. I was writing in middle school, I was writing in high school. Yeah. And it was something that I did like in seasons where I just felt like it was not going great.
Yeah, it's your safe place.
Yeah, definitely my safe place. And my aunt is actually an amazing writer and author. So I grew up reading. My mom's a huge reader, and I read her books, and she's always inspired me. So I haven't gotten to the point where I've put stuff out. I like have an Instagram account dedicated to it. I put things out, and people read them, and then I think about it. But I've honestly been in a rut for the last couple of months, like trying to figure out what I'm going to do with it. And G+Rizz kind of gives me an outlet where I can slowly kind of open that back up again, almost like almost like A/B testing, where I can see, like, you know, does this resonate with you guys? Is this something people want? Please Be Kind. That was something that I had in the sunset pile, where I was like, okay, I'm gonna do 10 of them, and then we'll see. I'll get rid of it and like not worry about it. And then people were like, no, this is what we want. And so. Honestly, in this summer, I'll be coming out with some more stuff.
Cool.
That'll be in print form.
Yeah, well, and sometimes I feel like, too, with art and writing and music, like, whatever your, like, thing that you, especially if it's a thing that you go to for your safe place, one that is, like, one of the hardest things to share with people because it's so vulnerable. Right. But then also... you do go through like hills and valleys, right? Where like you're more, it's almost like a consume and create kind of a phase, right? Where like there are seasons where like you don't make maybe as much stuff, but you're like taking in other things like beauty or finding inspiration or like, I've been reading a lot lately, different like creative books, and I also enjoy reading and listening to audiobooks because I spend a lot of time on the computer right now with my day job, so I audiobooks sometimes are easier for me at the end of the day, like my eyes are kind of shot, so like but there was a really cool excerpt from a book that I was reading recently where they were talking about that, where you're not always going to be like your most creative self, but just like the act of creating anything is like beautiful, and sometimes when you're not feeling it, that's okay, but when that inspiration does start to strike, that's when you got to start putting like pen to paper or like whatever, because it's a gift like that and you know that feeling that like anybody that's ever experienced that, it's such a wild feeling when you get that like that little spark that's like in your gut. It's like in your gut, it's in your head, it's in the back of your throat. You're like, oh my God, I am gonna make that thing, and you're like so excited, you like can't even wait to do the thing. I love that. But that in that book that he was talking about, it's the creative Act, I think is the name of the book. It's good. Yeah. And shout out. Yeah, tag us.
Yeah. You know, there's like a certain beauty about being able to create in a space like that, because when you actually love it, then you don't care about the results.
Yeah.
Because you're satisfied. Like if I draw something and if I know that I like it, hey, if it ends up selling a whole bunch or if it doesn't, it doesn't matter because I created it from a space where I enjoy it.
For sure. It's
as
very pure.
Yeah.
And it kind of takes you, sometimes those types of projects or those pieces take me to a different, like they take me somewhere I wasn't intending to go. And then that might inspire something else, like for something different that I'm working on.
Right.
What is like the type of subject matter you like to write about in your poems? Are you, if you're willing to share?
Yeah, no. And you know, part of it is the fact that this is like, you're going to be like, oh my God. You know, part of it is like, I had a lot of heartbreak in my early years, I guess. So I was writing from a place of like loneliness, emptiness,
the pain,
feeling broken. And then part of the issue is that we started dating and now I'm happy. You know what I mean? So I was like, shoot, what am I supposed to, how do I write happy poems? Like I've been like working on it, but I'm like, this doesn't feel as good as when I was like, I hate it. You know, I was like a tortured artist. So I found that is something that I did not expect to happen. I didn't see it coming. And so see, he's like, you're lovely now. So so that's like part of it. Which I guess it's the same way how like, you know, Tay Swift writes some of her best songs from breakups. You know what I mean? It's a thing. Like Ariana Grande is on that wave right now, and I'm like, this album is fire.
It's so good.
It's so good. So yeah, Adele. Yeah, I'm like, you know, it's something about it. I think like when people go through things. I just thought of randomly like Big Sean when he broke up with Janae Echo. Anyway,
there are like so many, so many examples.
But you know, I think when you write from a place like that, and I think why things like that do so well as far as like music is because it's an experience that's so vulnerable, and you think you're going through it by yourself. So you see someone else talk about it, it's like, oh, you're with
it taps
too.
into that like core human emotion, like that very universal. Like most people that have, it's kind of one of those things that like I kind of hope everyone's experienced heartbreak at some point, because if you haven't experienced it, then you really haven't loved either. So
exactly.
Like, and that's, you know,
that's why it's so important to be authentic. Like people always try to figure out. I can't remember who I was talking to, but they were just trying to figure out how can you stand out. If you got 20 people that's doing cards, you got 20 people that's doing, you know, podcasts. What's going to be the thing that's going to make your thing special? And it's being yourself.
Yeah. That's so hard, though. It is hard. It's a lot
hard.
harder. It's easy when you
It's
say
easy.
it. When you say it, it's like, that's key. That's
be
the key.
Yourself.
But when you sit down to do it, you're like, who am I?
And how much of me is other things? Which I mean, that's the thing with art too, right? It's like we get inspired by other artists, and other artists get inspired by us, and it's kind of like this cyclical of, artistic, just inspiration. Like in a lot of ways, there is nothing new right under the sun, but also I think that's something beautiful is that we can see something from another artist and be like, wow, I love the artistic style. And the way that we manifest that inspiration is going to be different than the way you manifest it, the way someone else does. And that's what like makes art great. And that's that key of like you do it your way and see how it comes out. And so, you know.
Yeah, for me doing this, I started getting more inspiration from other artists, because the way how like the design style and the way how I draw, you might think that there's like 5 or 10 different artists that's drawing it. There's not, and I think this is what also makes it special, because there isn't something that's just so signature about the way how the cards are made. It really just speaks to whatever the content is. But as an artist, there is a little bit of a pride in me where it's I want people to know that G drew this, as opposed to like sometimes we'll do stuff and like, oh, this is like handmade. This wasn't like sourced. Like we're the creators behind it.
Oh. You're like, I'm a creator, okay?
What in the world?
She's learned something now.
Her name is first in the brand. Okay, I love you. Kidding.
Oh my god.
Just a little bit.
I mean, I get that though, because you guys are working so hard on this, and you're doing it so, that's actually a huge compliment, because you're doing it so well that people are like, oh, this is like, you're just mass producing this, right? But you're like, no. Like, let's walk it back.
Because
let's
once people find out that we actually are the ones that done it, they're like, their eyes.
You gotta
because sometimes that actually is like what.
Oh my gosh!
What closes the sale too.
That would be a really funny, like, a set of, like, a series of videos you could do. It's just like people, like, you could catch people like in the act of learning that you do them in the deer in headlights.
Oh,
like,
I'm like, do you run into people who just say like some? You know what I mean? Where do you think the cards are coming from?
Yeah, right. Like, somebody has to make them.
There is a person behind this. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So it's just like a card spot.
And then there will be people that'll come up and they'll pick up a right or one of her prints and they're like, "Ooh, who's the artist? Art Scarborough." And it's like, there
He's
it
so
is.
happy. Right
There it is.
there.
Right
There she
there.
is. Run her down.
Go sign it.
Gosh. Chaos.
Oh my gosh.
It is cool. I think that is something that we didn't expect. I think they like, as like all the events that we do, one of the things we love about doing events, which last year he was like, 80 events. I was like, yes, we could do more.
Yeah,
I remember I was like,
every
not
weekend.
enough. He was like, enough. Like, what are you talking about? It's football
He's
season.
like, I'm tired.
Yeah. He's like, can you calm down? But I love, like, we love being in person because you get to meet people.
Yeah.
And a lot of our, I mean, even like our
for
interaction was at a
sure.
market.
Yeah,
Like, we
we're
never
here.
would have ran into
Yeah.
otherwise. It's like,
Gotta
you
be
may have
outside.
found our brand, but it might have been months and months and months
Yeah.
later. You know, so it's like, there's so many people that we see. And there's honestly, even sometimes we walk around, we'll be in a coffee shop and someone will come up and say, I have your sticker in my water bottle. Or I saw your sticker in my office on someone's laptop.
that's
and
so
it's just
cute.
like cool because you're like, wow, like we're really interacting with people that we wouldn't have known outside of
Yeah,
our
and it's
art brand.
resonating, and like you're really
Yeah.
connecting. Like,
We love it. Well, I was like, I love it. I'm a people person.
yeah, there's definitely like an introvert extrovert type situation happening.
He's like, I love it a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm like, but there are cool moments when you realize like you create something or a print that's in somebody's house.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yep.
over the
Yeah,
world.
that's a
It's like-
crazy thing to think about.
Yeah.
And then we
When you
think-
zoom out and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, like quantify what
Maybe
we're
we
doing
should-
right now.
Maybe we should kind of look at that and
Yeah.
be like, you know, the number of prints that we've sold, and we'll be like, wow, there's,
Yeah.
it's in
Yeah,
500
like in
different
someone's
homes
living
all
room.
around
Like
the
Yeah.
world.
they're
Yeah.
eating a meal in
And
front
it's
of your
just-
print.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, salt, pepper, ketchup on the wall.
yeah.
Which we love, yeah. And we've honestly had people, like people have sent up cards overseas. Like I know
Some
there's a
people keep
lady.
them, don't even like to send them.
Yeah, some people don't like to send them at all. They'll say, I bought 5 cards and I kept them all for myself. I was like, that's not the point. But I love that you love it. And we've had people, this has turned into things for us to do other things. Like he was commissioned to do 2 pieces for a boutique hotel in Ghana.
Oh, cool.
So that's like cool. You know, and that came like kind of through G+Rizz.
Yeah.
So stuff like that's happening too for us where people will be like, oh, can you do this project or that project? Because we know that you do copy. You know, so
Yeah.
it's like crazy how G+Rizz really has like kind of catapulted other things for us.
That's super cool. Are you interested in doing more of that kind of work? Like where you...
Always. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I think even when we, our very first start, where we sold something at OCF, when they saw it, they're like, oh, this is really good. Oh, you're an artist? Oh, well, where's some of your other art? And I have art where, you know, my back history, again, I said one of my first jobs was as a painter. But that's what got me to paint so much more, as much as I was trying to like paint. And then next thing you know, I got 20 paintings on the wall, and we're doing a whole entire opening, and people are coming out to
at OCF
experience the art. And then the idea around creating what paint triggered curiosity came to be, where you can really just fully see like the extension of my art outside of G+Rizz.
Wet Paint is his own brand that was like a spin-off essentially. He was always doing his own stuff. Yeah. But then when the whole thing happened with OCF, because they were like, yeah, we want you to actually show here.
Yeah.
You can have this whole space. Can you do a showing for 6 months?
And you're like,
and
yes.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, he'll do it. And I came back and he was like, who's gonna do that? I don't. What? How many paintings do I need? And I was like, perfect. This
You're
is
like,
what she
you
wanted.
can do
Yeah,
it.
it's for you.
Yeah.
So now it's become its own. That's its own brand outside of G+Rizz. We do a lot of things together, obviously. So there's some overlap.
Well, you're creative partners, so I'm sure, like,
there's some crossover, some overlap. Like some of the things that I do is like this little line art and very abstract. So that's a wet paint thing, but then we're seeing it leak over into G+Rizz
That's
with
cool.
some of the apparel and some of the houseware items.
Yeah, and it's on some of the poetry. Like some of the home prints have like some line art. So that's like a crossover.
I love that. I also love that you guys each have your own, like you're doing this together, but you also have your own thing. Like it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to do my own thing too.
Right.
So like a space just for you. Because sometimes like that's a good, like that's almost like a perfect metaphor for a relationship just in general, right? Like we do our thing together most of the time, but then sometimes I need to be over here doing my own thing.
100%.
Like
that's what I will say is the one good thing about Rizz is that she knows how to like execute. I look at her as like the pilot, like that always just keeps burning. So when it comes to like actually getting something like, done and put out there, she's great at that. Now what I do is kind of like reel it back, where it's like, how is this going to again?
I'm like, swipe the card.
You're like, it doesn't matter. We're doing this cool thing. Let's do it. It's gonna be great. You're like the hype person in
He's like, no,
and he's
bro.
like, we're going right here.
Wait a second.
Yeah, we're gonna moonwalk back into this corner for a minute.
That corner. So it definitely does balance. Now, her being able to go out there, because for me, like she said, I probably have about like 5 different jobs that I do. So I'm more limited and not as flexible being able to be out there during a week or on the weekends for certain things.
Yeah.
So her being out there and being the face of it, pushes it. And for me, it just shows like just from being outside and just by doing it, you get all these opportunities. Being able to be on a podcast like this, just from being outside.
Yeah, just awareness, like people knowing you're here and you're creating and you're doing good work and people are feeling it.
Yeah, we love it. It's encouraging. It is encouraging. Because I think, you go through, like, we're a part of a lot of different artist groups that people talk about, especially with social media, which is like a whole thing.
Yeah,
like,
social
artists
media.
are like, they're like, oh, I'm putting something out. I feel like I do all this work and I'm getting 10 likes. And I'm like, my number one advice for people from the social media background is like, you got to put that out for you.
Yeah.
Like, do not worry about the likes. Don't worry about whether you think people aren't seeing it. Yeah, like people do see it, even if they don't always interact with it. And eventually it's going to pop off. Right. But that's the hardest thing, all right? Even with like going out and doing events. Because like every event we do is not a good event.
Right.
Like,
after the first OCF, I think we probably did like $20.
Yeah, the next time around.
Now, if that happened the first time, I probably would have been discouraged. But,
right.
But it just shows.
Yeah, so you gotta work through those seasons.
Yeah.
It's like there's some seasons you're gonna make a ton of money. You're gonna be like, I can live off this forever. And then the next season you're like, I have $1 in my bank account.
You're like, I'm
and
freaking
I have to
out.
move home. Yeah, you're like,
I'm freaking
this
out.
is terrible.
Yeah.
Calling mom and dad, please help me.
Yeah,
I have
SOS.
ramen.
SOS.
You know what's funny
It's
is
rough.
looking back in like perspective, there was like events that we've done, like Old City Fest and like South Street Fest, where we thought like after we thought we thought we brought in $5,000-$7,000 in a day selling cars. That's what we thought, and then we go back and compare it. Like, $300. Why do we think that we like pulled in?
You walked out of there like you were celebrities. You were like,
just vibes.
me. I'm like, yeah, killing it. You're like, like finger gunning your way out. Yeah.
Nobody can tell us like
those guns away.
Going out to eat. Oh no, it's on the cover.
Yeah, like I am covering it.
Yeah, I'm like, what are we doing?
Drinks for the whole bar. Let's do this.
In the red.
Yeah, in the red.
But it does feel good though when when you do an event like that and you like even like you're not breaking even, you like make money. Like when you make money off that first event or like that thing that you're doing, you're like, oh man, this is cool. Like I could keep doing this. But then when you have one that doesn't go that way, because they're a lot of work. And I honestly don't think that people know, or if you've never done an event, like never set up for one, planned for one, all the planning that goes to even just a 6-foot table that sits there and you have to be there. Like you're there
we just
from,
talked about that.
yeah. I mean, it's time. Like, it's not just the time at the event for like the 4 hours you're there, the hour before, or 2 hours before, sometimes setting up.
The whole entire night before where you're prepping.
Right. Like prepping, making sure you have everything. You have to test you to make sure your payment thing works, because God forbid if that doesn't work, because you do not have money, then they're like, people are walking away if you don't have a card reader.
Exactly.
So
they're like, oh, shit.
they are not carrying cash. Like, that is not. It is a lot. It's really a lot. And so, like, when you get one that's, you know, a bummer, you're like, oh, man.
You're like, I don't want to do this ever.
You're like, this sucks.
I was like, this year, the end of last vending season was the first time I cried.
Oh.
Like, I literally remember there was a day. It was the day of, what was happening? It was Art for the Cash Poor and Now and Then. And, you know, last season was really crazy with the outside markets. It was super windy.
Yeah.
And we have paper goods. Nothing's staying.
No.
He was at an event and I was at an event and we both weren't able to set up. And it was just like...
and you're just like,
I was
can't.
over it. And he, like, came to, like, help me, like, basically pick up stickers from the ground because they were flying everywhere. And we got to the car and I just, like, was bawling. I was like, I am so defeated.
So awful.
Like, this just sucks. And he was like, dude, it's gonna be okay.
You're like, it's just one day.
Yeah, he's like, it's fine. And that's just how he is. He's
that's
always
good.
on one. And I'm like,
emotional.
Like,
I was like, hey, what's it really like that? We're not outside in the cold no more. So
I was like, this is bad. We're going to sell another
it's
car.
over. It's over.
Dissolve the company.
Bail. Pull the ripcord.
It's like, what is wrong with you?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
It's nice that you have that calming voice.
We work together on that. And then sometimes, like, something amazing will happen, and I'll be like, why are you not screaming right now? This is awesome. You're not enough. And it, like, makes him be like, okay,
I'm like,
right.
it's exciting.
Right.
You know, I will get hype over, like a design. Like, I ended up doing, like, a recent drawing, because I have a couple of planters. This one has a store in her house that has probably about like 900 plants.
Yay!
55.
Oh, I love plants. So I'm right there. They're so nice.
So many too many.
Happy.
But then I was like, I literally sketched out some stickers and that we're gonna do, and I drew a sticker where it was like a plant that was like dead leaves and things like that.
Oh. That is so. That's pretty messed up.
And so the copy around it is "Remember to water your plants." I was like, "Who is this for?" And he was like, "It's for me. I think it's funny." And I was like, "A plant lover is not going to buy this. They're going to be like, is that a dead plant over my dead body? There's no way."
Yeah, you feel so sad about it.
Yeah, it's like an emotional experience. You have lost a plant. You lost a tree, actually. That was rough. But he wasn't like really. It was probably more rough for me. I was like, oh my gosh.
I get so sad. Like, I brought out all my plant babies came from Vegas with me. I have like all these little cacti.
Oh
and
my gosh.
my one, it's a fairy cactus, and it's those ones that have like the long stalks.
Ooh.
And they're very pretty and cool.
Yeah.
I'll send you a picture later. They're really cute. And like, but it started looking a little like the humidity here is a little different. And so I'm like, oh my God. I'm like panicking. I'm like Tim, my husband's like, it's just a plant. I'm like, it is not just a plant. I was like, it is not. It is just my plant baby. It has been with me I've known this plant longer than I have known you. So I'm like, I will not lose this plant. Like, I will resuscitate this plant. It got real for a minute because I was like,
wait a second.
I love this plant. And he's like, and I love you. So that's fine.
Right. Okay. Let me back away slowly.
So we are coming out with some plant doctors.
Okay.
All
right.
It's for us.
Okay.
Plant doctor.
I like that.
Yeah, we're doing some different things. But yeah, it's like if you love it, I'm like, yeah, run with it. That's fine.
Oh my gosh, so cool. I feel like I could talk to you guys all day. I don't think I've asked a single question on my list because I'm just like,
wait, aren't you supposed to do 10 questions?
Well, I think I asked a few. Like, I don't know. There's at least 10 in there, right?
Yeah,
They just aren't they never turn out to be the ones I actually write down. I just kind of write them down in case I need them, but usually it's like, oh, we just chat and it's fine. Let's see. Maybe I'll ask one. Let's see. I was going to ask you. So I noticed when I was doing a little bit of research on your website that you're also on a website called Fair.
We are.
What is that? And have you found that helpful for you? Like, just for other people that are trying to do something like what you're doing.
That's good.
Yeah, I'll take that. So Fair is actually a website for wholesalers, which is really cool. So if you're looking to get into wholesale, you're looking to get into stores as an artist, you should definitely be on Fair.
Oh, cool. Okay.
It's cool because for us, we've had brands or stores that we had no idea even existed in the area place orders with us on Fair.
Oh, wow.
Which is great. And so they have like thousands of retailers on there.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. So you essentially can put your whole catalog up, and then you put your wholesale pricing, and then people can order right through Fair. And if they have like a specialty membership or things like that, then they get free shipping. Fair does their own market that's completely virtual. A couple times a year. I think they do a spring one and a summer one. It's like 3 days, and they offer deals and all this different stuff.
Yeah.
So Fair was what we started using when we were first getting into the world of wholesale. Okay. Because we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah. Like how do I write a contract? How do I do that?
We were like, what do we do? And so Fair kind of streamlines that whole process.
That's super cool. Did they help teach you things too, or was it more like we just are gonna run this for you? Like you put your stuff up here, we take our cut, and then
Well, I think also kind of going back a little bit, there were stores that were saying like, hey, we want to order more stuff from you. How can we do that? And they would say, are you on Fair? And then that's what also started triggering it. So to Liz's point, if you're an artist and if you're a brand and you sell goods where people can buy it in mass quantity, you should be on.
That's super cool. So pro tip, guys, anybody that's listening, get on Fair, be a wholesaler.
And it kind of helps you. I mean, we've kind of learned, we've honestly been really, really blessed. I'm going to give Chartel from Golden Water Co. a shout out right now.
Okay.
She actually is a boutique soapery, I believe is like the title, but she does like luxury body care.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Care. Amazing stuff. She's been in business probably 4 or 5 years.
Wow, okay.
So when we first started out vending and being in this business, she actually came to us and gave us a bunch of just like put us on game.
Yeah.
Which was
I love
crazy.
that.
Like,
okay.
She's such a sweet person. And so because she is ahead of us a couple of years, there's things where she was able to say like, this is what I would do, this is what I wouldn't do.
Yeah.
And she was honestly one of the biggest advocates for doing every event that we saw.
That was probably the biggest case.
Okay.
We were like not sure. We were like
Yeah,
she was like, do every single thing that you can do that people allow you to get into, and then you see what's for you, and then you essentially build your brand from there and figure it out. And she was so right. And
she kind of gave you the permission to test.
Yes.
Like she
was like,
you need to
that's
test.
what I did, and she's like, I would say she's definitely like so successful. Definitely an RI. She might be like,
artists are always self-deprecating though. Like it'll never be enough. They're like, I'm all right.
Sorry, you were on the cover of Vogue.
Yeah, like you're doing great.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really like that.
Right.
I mean, I'll do it better next time.
You're
I'll
like,
do better next
okay.
time.
Cool. But just like her branding, the way that she runs her business, like it's all amazing.
Her setup.
Yeah,
that's
it's
so
really
cool.
And we have like a couple of other friends that were in the vending game too that definitely helped. But I think like when you kind of have people that are able to kind of give you a little bit of guidance, which we always tell people too that we meet like new vendors, like if you have questions about events, about setup, about what we're doing, DM us. Like we're not gonna gatekeep. Like it's like there's enough room for everybody.
Yeah, I love that. I'm all about that. Like because there is always gonna be someone coming up behind you and somebody coming up like somebody in front of you. And if we all were just like willing to share the information and work together, everybody'd be doing fine. Like because nobody does it on their own. Like no one. You have to have a mentor. You have to have people that are willing to share their experience so that you.
And then some people, they're scared to just do it. Like, oh well, there's already people that's doing it. There's already people that got a podcast. And I tell people, I was like, well, if you go inside of Walmart or Target, how many people got white T-shirts?
Yeah, for sure.
You got 20 different white T-shirts. So clearly there's a market for that. And what might look the same, there are differences. So just gotta go ahead and do it.
I think it just like what you said. If it lights you up, just try it. Like just try to give it out. Give it a try and figure it out as you go. And like it doesn't have to be perfect when you start. Like and it's actually kind of better if it's not. I think because.
It's good to look back on. Like I think because we have a background in like in creative, but when we look at some of our old setups, like I think we had like soap dishes. And then now when we look back, it's like, oh, we definitely came.
Yeah, you learn and you're like, all right, and then it's also you're like, getting income from your work, so then you can invest more into how it's presented, or who you can hire someone to help you build content, or Some of it is that. Yeah, I mean, you guys can't see me pointing to the photographer on camera, but she's here.
Yeah.
The lovely Kathy Berry. So we, I mean, I think that's important to note too, that like we're all learning. That's like, I mean, that's really what this is about. Like, it's a work in progress. We're all here to learn and figure it out, and there is a lot of apprehension, I think, to start new. It's hard to start something new. And there is a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise out there, but the thing is like, there's a lot of noise, but everybody's voice is a little bit different, and like everyone's saying something that's valid and worth hearing and is going to speak to somebody. Like, you know, so I don't know. It's I don't know I don't know how to bring that catalyst in people, but I wish whenever I hear somebody talking about, oh man, I'd really like to do that, I'm like, yeah, you should go do that. Go do that thing because you will figure it out. Like, but yeah, it's a wild ride. It's a wild ride.
100%. Like, and you know, there's like a really good artist, Rick Rubin.
Okay.
And if you ever get a chance, like look at a couple of different interviews, he talks a lot about artists and about their creation, and it's so applicable. And talking about coming from a place of what do you care about, what do you love, and create from that, in that purity and what we talk about as far as authenticity, and it just works out. You know,
because people connect to that. They can feel that it's real. It's not. It's not made up. It's not coming from like, you know, people like hearts right now. So I'm gonna make everything I make is gonna have a heart on it. You know what I mean? There's something really like, just really cool and brave about being able to share that little piece of yourself.
100%.
Willing to take the leap.
That leap is hard though. Sometimes you get shoved. Like, my leap, I was like halfway into the leap, and then I just got kicked off that cliff. It was like, all right, see you later. And I was like a goofy moment, like, you know, all the way down. That was a turkey, not goofy. I don't know. I can't do goofy, but you got it. You saw the face. So normally we would be done here, but we were having so much fun, I let the recording run. And since it's my show, well, deal with it. I'm just kidding. But do stick around. You'll like this.
Or you feel some type of way, you're in your feelings, he's in his feelings, and you're like, dang, we're not really doing anything at all. But
like sometimes you're not clicking in the same way either, right? Like if you're not in sync, you have to figure that out first. So
it's like the business might be doing well, but you personally with your partner might not be doing well. Or you might be doing well with your partner, but the business may not be. You know what I mean?
Or like if one of you, because also artists are kind of tend to, you know, we do the melancholy thing pretty well sometimes. So like if one of you is like not feeling it, like you're in your like head face down in the pillow like moment, like I need a day, all right? I need a day.
And that's the thing. It's like I'm definitely more of a people. Well, you said you're a people person too. It manifests in different ways.
For sure.
Like I can just sit and talk and like and you know Christian can do that too, but he also his brain like is going with a bunch of different things of like
it's hard to shut it off.
Like what he's doing for his 9 to 5, what he has upcoming. You know, he has a lot of different things he's doing, and I would say I have a lot of different things, but they're different. So the way that I think about something, what he thinks about something is not always. So I can be like, we can commit to a 10-hour market. In his head, he's like, 10 hours where?
It's like,
I could be there for 2 hours and have to do the other 8 by yourself.
Because outside of, again, I do a bunch of different you know, jobs, but like one of the cool jobs that I do is like I also work for the Philadelphia Eagles. So, so when the weekends.
Tim is going to be very interested in this episode now. He's going to be like, I need to meet G.
There's a bunch of Eagle stuff everywhere. So for me, it's like the season never really kind of stops. So, you know, September is usually when football starts, but for the role that I'm in, you know, I'm there every single
What are you
month.
doing for them?
So I'm part of like the fan experience. So I'm one of their like lead supervisors and over, like their event operations.
Oh, that's super cool. But whoa, like that's like a lot.
Yeah, like 800 people. You're really
Yeah, so like
being
800
chill.
people, like I guess report to me and things like that. When I walk around, they want to act like you're doing work. And
Oh
they
my
usually are,
gosh.
but it's fun. Like I love everybody that work. It really is like a family over there. But for working with the Eagles, you know, if I'm working 9 to 5, that's usually Monday to Friday, and Eagles they play on the weekends.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of our events on the weekends. So if I'm doing that and plus a bunch of other different things.
And they're different sides of your brain.
Yeah.
Like those are
100%.
different tasks.
Yeah.
Like so you have to sort of be able to switch between them and
And it changes the way that like I book events. Because
Yeah.
it's like if we have a really huge festival, there are certain festivals I just can't do by myself.
Right.
So it's like, okay, can
take
we
off
do this festival? Right. It's
Yeah.
like, does this make sense? But depending on what it is, if it's a home gig. So it's like, I know September through May, I book differently than I do in spring and the end of summer and things like that because I know I may not have him.
Do you guys ever task rabbit somebody? Like they're like, we just need someone to
be
help
my
man.
mom, actually.
Okay.
My mom was our first part-time employee,
Oh.
and she was freaking awesome. I did not know she was gonna be this good.
Shout out,
Like,
Chef
yeah, my mom's a chef, so
cool.
she actually used to work at Fork.
Oh,
like,
okay,
right
cool.
down the street, and so. When she wasn't at Fork, she would be working for us, and she'd be like, "This is my daughter's business. It's her boyfriend. She'll buy cards."
my gosh.
And people love like family members.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? It's like I've had my dad come to events.
Well,
like,
I
it's
mean,
like
because this is something I was literally just talking about this with one of my friends the other day on the phone. Like, someone else talking about your work is a totally different experience than, like, if you are talking about your work. Because sometimes, like, you do that artist thing we were just talking about off the mic, where we're like, yeah, I mean, I did draw that.
Yeah, it's cool.
But it's cool.
Yeah.
If you want to buy it, we do have a couple for sale. But, like, if your friend is talking about it or your mom's like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. Like, they're just, you know, like,
Just
all
hype.
about it and they're all hype. Yeah. And
True.
and it's just like, why can't we talk about our own work that way? You know, like, if you could you imagine if you could bring that energy every
I'm
time?
about to get like some of my little nephews.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're just jumping
cute.
around.
Honestly, we talked about that. We were like, "Hey, you guys want to fold some cards?"
Yeah. Just set them on the
Yeah.
table.
Right.
Just span them out. Oh,
So all we
that's
need
so
you to
funny.
do just walk around, hand out these business cards.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, no, it's good. It's good.
All right. I feel like I'm staying. I'm sleeping over. Let's just
Come
keep.
on.
Let's
Did you
sleep
do
this
your last
out.
question?
Yeah. No.
We got the bean
It's
bag.
not in there. I didn't feel it.
Yeah. I'm gonna. No, I do have one more. This is the last one, though. I promise, and then we'll get out of your hair. But I like to do this at the end of each episode where it's kind of like an artist tag. So like if you can give us one artist that inspires you here in Philly, not Billy. Both Philly, Billy. They're both out. They're both valid. And then one outside of Philly that.
Oh no! I
that
wish you had told me. I'm more prepared. I don't know anyone's names.
I usually do email it, to be fair. And so, like, if you can't think of one, totally fine. You can email me later. But what I'm trying to do with those is for next season, we're gonna reach out to them and like see if we can.
That makes it easy.
Okay.
Actually.
I'm like, I know for myself, there's an artist that happens to also be from Philadelphia, goes by the name King Saladin.
Okay.
And ended up going to an event at the art museum.
Cool.
And ended up running into him. And for me, like, I've been around, you know, celebrities, I've been around football players, but it was just really, really cool being able to run into him. And I was like, King Saladin, is that really you? And then I was able to get a photo with him.
Oh my gosh.
Really was like
a fanboy moment.
Really was like a fanboy
So
moment.
cute.
Like I have I have some of his baseball cards that he's done.
Oh wow.
I have one of his hoodies that he's done. His artwork is very, very expensive.
Oh, okay.
So I told him, I was like, hey, I want you to at least be able to sign my hoodie.
Yeah.
And I was gonna frame it like
Oh
like
my
a
gosh.
jersey because I can't.
Yeah. You're like, I can't afford your art.
Eventually I'll
So.
get your art, but at least I can get you to sign it. So he's inspired me. One, because he's another black man that's out here in Philadelphia that's doing art. He's been doing stuff. He's done stuff for like on Wall Street. He has artwork
cool.
in the Philadelphia airport. He all over Spin in Philadelphia. If you ever go there, you see a lot of his artwork all around. And for me, that's like definitely a model that I want to be able to inspire to.
Yeah.
Where people walk around and you can see your artwork, and I think he's now working on a mural like somewhere in Philadelphia too.
That's super cool.
So for him, he's definitely a big inspiration for me.
I love that.
Here locally. If I had to think of someone that is not locally, I'm gonna need a little bit more time.
Yeah, no, that's
I'm
okay.
gonna go for mine, which I'm actually gonna name the first artist. I think she's non-traditional, and it's someone that I actually know. Her name is
cool.
Shalisha Harper.
What is it?
Shalisha Harper.
Shalisha Harper.
Yeah, and she runs a brand called No Shade.
Okay.
So she started as like boldly handcrafted earrings.
Ooh,
and
okay.
now she's like branching out into other things. She does home goods and things
Oh,
like that.
cool. Okay.
She's actually I would say one of our business besties, like someone that we
cute.
vended with. That she's a little bit ahead of us as well. So she's a really, really cool brand.
Amazing.
And she's another person that's like working a 9 to 5 and then also running that business as well. So I would say she would be my Philly person.
Okay.
For sure.
I love that.
Yeah. And then I guess out of Philly, I'm going to go with a writer, and it's going to be my aunt.
Oh, yay! Yes. Oh my gosh. Family
She's
episode.
so
That would be so
cool.
fun.
Yeah. She honestly, like, she has quite a few books out. Actually, she has a book that just came out called Women of the Post that is about Black women who basically worked, like, with the mail. It's like really cool. Yeah. So check her out. Check out that book.
Okay.
She currently is in New York.
Awesome.
But she was in Austin for a while. She was in DC for a while. So like she's great.
I'm thinking about doing New York next season. Next season. So the
look
plan
her
is to
up.
do a new city each season, and then also incorporate like a few artists from. There'll always be a few Philly and a few Las Vegas because I
Nice.
consider those my two homes. I'm kind of like a tale of two cities right now,
Love
right?
it.
Like,
Yeah.
so
Viva Las
I want to
Vegas.
make sure I still give the love back to those places. So,
For sure.
but that's super cool. I would love that. And talk to your aunt. I'll be like, I know
she's-
your niece.
Yeah, she's dope. Like I'm like my writing is nowhere near like she is a list
Aw.
for sure. So she's what I aspire to be.
That's so cool.
Do you want to do your person outside of Philly? Do you have one?
Person outside of Philly,
I
no.
know. I feel so unprepared.
You can email me later. I feel like I dropped it today. I'm like, I'm just gonna drop it on and see what happens.
Yikes.
it's
Well, you know, there is
What about a musician?
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
a musician. Yeah, I know a couple of musicians too, but a lot of them, you know, they travel all over.
Yeah.
So there is a musician who's literally been all over. A guy named Boots Green.
Okay.
And he's a phenomenal drummer. And this guy, he's played drums for Jay-Z, and I think he just recently was the drummer when Rihanna, she just did a
That show in India. That
show
show
in
Oh,
India.
cool,
He
okay.
was the drummer that was playing behind her. But he's a phenomenal artist. He has his own music out too.
Super
as
cool.
well. Yeah. So from my perspective, I do a lot of stuff with music too. As
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
We didn't even
so-
talk about that.
yeah, that's a
We're
whole
gonna have to do a
yeah.
follow up.
So I do a lot of stuff with music too, and I ended up running into a studio, and then we ended up crossing paths a couple of different times, and then I just ended up talking with him. It wasn't even in a session that he was participating in, but we ended up connecting and vibing out, and from that we just really just formed like an even deeper like friendship.
I love that.
And from that he's just been like, you know,
Yeah.
really just a phenomenal friend and great artist.
Yeah,
I love
and he's
that.
local to Philly, but he plays all over the
Yeah.
world.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
if you can catch
You
him,
can catch
Yeah,
him.
I'll be like, I'm
You
like,
catch him on the East Coast. He'll definitely be a good person to tackle.
maybe I can. I go to them, so maybe I'll just sit in this
Yeah.
tour bus and do it.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I just
Yeah.
I got so excited.
But King Saladin, Boots Green,
Yeah.
those are two really
Cool.
cool people.
I'm stoked. Thank you.
Yeah.
You guys were like, this was such a great way to end the day, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
this is so
Yeah.
cool. So I would love to stay in touch, and like maybe we'll
100%.
do like
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like every episode I'm like, we're gonna do a follow up because
Yeah.
I just want to put everyone in the same room and give them all a mic and just be like,
like
a
a
power group
podcast mixer.
yeah,
What do
that'd
they
be
do?
cool.
Like, you know how like Love Is Blind, they have like a reunion.
Yeah.
And then you bring back.
We can do like season one
Yeah,
reunion.
Season one.
Please,
you bring-
every other one's been so freaking
Yeah.
chaotic.
Oh my
you
god.
do like a reunion. You bring everybody from
That's
season
so
one
great.
of the podcast and just come and.
Oh my gosh,
chat.
I love that so much. If you were following along and counted up my questions, head over to TikTok at the Artist10 Podcast and comment how many you think I got. I will not guarantee there'll be 10, but we will follow this week with a total. And if you're an artist, designer, or creative, please leave us a question in the same comment and we'll pick a few to read and answer on the show next time. And that's a wrap. No worries though, we'll be back with more inspo, know-how, and creative collabs, you know it. In the meantime, tag along with us on Instagram at Heart House Creative or TikTok at the Artist10 Podcast. And do us and you a favor, please, and smash that subscribe button on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever it is that you feed your brain from. Till next time, I'm Jenn Hart. Keep creating, artists. This episode of the Artist10 Podcast was recorded from the home studio of G+Rizz. Thank you for inviting us into your home. The show was produced by Heart House Creative. Photos and video were captured by the lovely Kathy Berry at Beaumond Originals on Instagram. Learn more about G+Rizz and stay in the know about upcoming events by following them on Instagram and TikTok at G+Rizz. That's GandRizz. See our show notes for more ways to connect.